Hello, my name is Didier Tranchier. I'm one of the co-founder of Digital Pharma Lab. Digital Pharma Lab is a pharma tech accelerator program, and we create collaborations and cooperations between digital startup working in the pharma lab, pharmaceutical value chain, and pharma company. Here today, we're going to talk about how cooperations has evolved during the lockdown, during this crisis. And I have with me Christophe Dufour, who is the innovation director at AstraZeneca. And of course, now everybody knows AstraZeneca, as AstraZeneca is going to solve part of our future. And we have here today Adel Mebarki, who is the founder of an AI startup called Kapcode. Maybe before we start with the question, can you maybe shortly present yourself, introduce yourself, starting with you, Christoph?
Yes, hi everyone. So I'm Christophe Dufour. As you said, I'm head of data and digital innovation at AstraZeneca here in France. And just to summarize what AstraZeneca is doing, we are specialized in three therapeutic areas. First is respiratory. The second one is cardiovascular, renal, metabolic, and the third one is oncology. So we are specialized in this area, and I will discuss what we have done around this and more in the presentation here.
Okay, thank you, Christoph. Adel?
So hello everyone, thank you very much for the invitation. So I'm Adel Mebarki, I'm one of the co-founders of Kapcode. Kapcode is basically dedicated to analyze what we call real-world data in pharma ecosystem. So we explore posts on social networks to grab medical insight for the healthcare ecosystem. So basically we evaluate and monitor quality of life of patients suffering from chronic disease, their care pathway, or the medical needs that are not covered for the moment by our healthcare system. And so we are more than 20 people right now dedicated to explore what we can learn from analyzing social networks in public health issues.
Okay, great. So AI, well, your company is using AI to listen to what is happening and try to detect new trends. And of course, we're going to talk more about that in this roundtable. And maybe what we can do is that we can share the fact that all of us, we were part of a big initiative. And can you tell us what happened during this first lockdown? And can you share your experience as a big pharma, starting with you, Christoph?
Yes, sure. So just to remember what started during the lockdown is that in one day we decided to stop every social meetings with people, with our friends, but also with doctors. And we have seen at AstraZeneca that we had a crisis over the crisis, meaning that our doctors, our patients, we are not seeing each other, and we think that we have more death next year coming from the lack of diagnosis in oncology, for example, that we have today in terms of COVID death. So we decided to work with our innovation ecosystem, meaning with startups and with innovators like France Digital, like MedTech in France, France Biotech. And every one of us decided to join our forces to launch a coalition. The coalition was a consortium to be able to identify needs coming from the field, coming from our doctors, coming from patients, and to be able to identify startups able to answer the problem, to solve the problem. We decided to have Digital Pharma Lab as operator of the coalition, because the way we wanted to work with a large ecosystem, we had the need to work with a neutral operator and Digital Pharma was chosen because they were very linked to other pharma around innovation and acceleration. So how it worked, basically, it was during only 4 days. We decided to go on a Thursday, and on Sunday we had 23 pharmas deciding to go together for this coalition. We had hospitals, we had also medtech companies, we had patient associations, and players coming from the technology ecosystem like Amazon Web Services and other digital players. We were together every week working in a large group with 100 people involved in all these companies. It was 53 companies and hospitals and patient association to identify the needs and to prioritize the needs, to select startups, and then to be able to found the startups and the ID for the patient or for the healthcare professionals. And the way we were working was very agile. We had a lot of information coming from the field, but also we asked all our solutions to come with a sponsor. The sponsor was one of the beneficiaries to be able to say why it was important to him, to be able to have a real impact of the solution we have chosen on the field. At the end, we had chosen 15 solutions which are in place, with more than 60,000 patients using the solutions. Solutions were basically with remote monitoring, with organization of the system to be able to help, for example, HCPs like nurses to be able to find materials in the hospital, to be able to help diabetes patients to be able to be monitored remotely, to have the possibility for people with respiratory issues to be able to be monitored from home without going to the hospital and need a pathologist. So a lot of the solution went in very short time because it was only 5 months, and 5 months is very, very I would say impressive because it's not the normal timing we had to put this kind of solution in production. But the way we worked by joining our forces was a very, very good challenge, and it was one team with startups, hospitals, patient associations, and industry companies.
Great. So here, I hope you see the hospitals, almost all hospitals in France, and the 15 startups that were funded, including Kapcode. By the way, did you have any idea of such a similar initiative around the world or in Europe, Christoph?
No, actually, this is we asked all our AstraZeneca is a very worldwide company, so we asked all our colleagues worldwide if an initiative was done like this in other countries, and actually, this is the only one initiative for sure we have in Europe, and I think probably also in the world.
And just one last remark: you said you mentioned 24 big pharma companies, but you didn't mention that AstraZeneca was the founder of this initiative at first.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, the idea came with the idea to accelerate startups the way we were doing with Microsoft AI Factory for Health, and we said, how can we use this same way of working, this methodology, to be able to scale up very fast with this kind of project? And basically, this kind of project was also similar to what the Digital Pharma Lab has done also in another session, and we wanted to be using this methodology to have a real impact by selecting really concrete needs coming from the field and active startups we have in France, as France is very well known to be to have a lot of innovative startups around digital and AI, because a lot of things we have done here was using AI to be able to identify or to diagnose or to help patients to be treated.
Okay, thank you very much, Christoph. So now coming to you, Adel. So what did you do during this lockdown? How did you experience being part of this initiative, and has it changed anything for you?
Yeah, so before beginning about the project, we worked with Digital Pharma Lab and other partners from Digital Pharma Lab and Coalition Innovation for COVID-19. We were at the beginning of the lockdown in a really challenging situation. Most of our projects were postponed by our partners, so we decided to launch an open collaborative research project called Epilogue, which was aiming three the dimensions. One, to explore what open data in COVID-19 can give us in terms of information. Another one was to understand more and more how fake news were working and how that affects the perceivability of patients in their daily life. And the third one, which is the most important for us, is to analyze social networks to understand several metrics like acceptability of public health decisions, or the mask, the fact that you have to wear mask every day, is that correctly accepted and so on. So we've made a lot of pro bono research project, and we faced a really important fact that we needed a really strong financial sustainability to be able to provide this kind of data and to be more accurate on how social networks can bring us new information about the medical COVID-19 impact. So that's why we seen the call from Digital Pharma Lab on the coalition, and we've seen that like a real interesting opportunity to, in one hand, having a financial partnership, but also to be able to have the knowledge and the expertise of pharmaceutical companies in the specific subject. So if I have to summarize the experience we had with Coalition Innovation, I'll just summarize it in one word: catalytic. That was really stunning to see how in less than 2 months we finalized the concept of the project with our partners. Basically, we are working with Pfizer, Roche, and Le Lem. And in less than 2 weeks, 2 months, sorry, we were able to finalize the project, process the evaluation program from the Digital Pharma Lab and their partners, and finalizing the contractualization and administrative aspects of the project with our partners, which is basically a real fast if you are if you had to work with a pharma company and a big corporation in general. It's really hard to have these administrative aspects in real quick time. So one of the main points we had is that we will be able to build the project really fastly from our side, and we will be able to deploy it as fastly with our partners.
So I like your word, catalytic, which means, of course, if we go back to chemics, it's how you can accelerate a chemical transformation and make it sometime explosive. So was there a complete revolution or complete explosion? You were telling us that you were looking at change in behaviors, and did you see a big change starting from your point of view in the pharmaceutical companies during this period?
Maybe in terms of social networks use at the beginning, we've seen a lot of healthcare professionals talking in Twitter, for example. That was the case before the crisis, but we've seen that a lot of new HCPs discussed about their medical needs, the aspect they can handle with this new pathology, and so on. And from the pharmaceutical company aspects, I seen also that what we are talking about as social networks as a real interesting source for medical purposes and medical knowledge is really now natural for pharmaceutical companies. I mean, during the crisis, we had most of our projects were on standby, but we launched a lot of projects dedicated to understand COVID-19 and impact on chronic disease. So we've seen that in the pharma mind, at least from our part of view, that make the social networks are a real relevant source of information, which wasn't the case before the crisis.
Okay, so Christoph, what do you think? It seems that according to Adel, now pharma companies are now very different, using social network and having been catalyzed during this crisis.
Yeah, I think I see two very big changes since the coalition and the COVID crisis. The first transformation I see is around the patient and HCP treatment or way of working. Today, we see that something which was not acceptable 6 months ago is now very acceptable and can be given to many patients. It's a way we can work with digital solutions for treatment or for treatment following or diagnosis and all these kind of things. And it has been a big transformation. And now the healthcare system is ready to have this kind of solution used in a day-to-day basis. So this is a very huge transformation. And I think even after the COVID, we'll keep this way of working. And that's, I think we have, is the only good part, the only good thing with the crisis will be that we have saved something like 5 years having this kind of solution in place. And the second transformation I see around the healthcare sector is the possibility to collaborate with many different actors. And this is very something which is seen as not possible. And sometimes we make funny at it. We say, we didn't know it was not possible, so we did it. And it's exactly the thing here is working with pharma companies, competitors, working with medtech providers, working with technologists, and also the actors, hospital and so on. This is something we can do. This is something we should do. And at AstraZeneca, we have launched our European Innovation Hub in Paris. And this is exactly the way we want to work in the future, is to be able to join forces with different actors and to have solutions helping the patient, helping the HCPs from the awareness part to the treatment, diagnosis, treatment part, and to be able to have different actors coming on the way, to be able to provide their solution and to work with startups, with innovative startups, to be able to make them scale and to make them scale for the benefit of the system, the organization. So this is the two main transformation I see here, which has been done during the crisis, and will I hope will last for many years.
Okay, so thank you, Christoph. So one way to reformulate what you're saying is that with this lockdown, everybody now is working together. So not only startups with pharma companies, but also HCPs, hospitals, patient association, moving in the same way together. So maybe it's almost time to conclude. Maybe Adel, what do you think about what's coming up now, and how do you see the future of this new cooperation between the whole ecosystem?
I think that, and I totally agree with what Christoph said, but I think that in the future, the organization will evolve. We've already seen that during the crisis, but I think that the capabilities, the organizational capabilities of the pharma companies are more important right now. I mean, they are faster. You can begin a project in less than 3 months. That's what we've seen with other projects right now. And we've seen that only after the COVID-19. And I think that for the future, it's really crucial, and that will be the case, that pharma company will accelerate in their collaboration capabilities. And that's what Christoph presented with the European Innovation Hub, for example. So I guess that I'm really optimistic for the future of collaboration from startup.
Okay, optimistic, the beginning of a new world. I think that there is only 10 seconds for you, Christoph, to conclude this talk.
Yeah, I think the sector will completely evolve, and now we are now aware that healthcare is very critical sector, which requires a lot of energy, collaboration, and that we need to be together to fight against viruses, but also to fight against oncology, cancer, and all this kind of critical disease. So I think that we need to continue this effort, and we have shown that it is possible to do so. So I think I got a good hope that the future will be in the good direction.
Okay, well, thank you to both of you. Of course, you're only some example of what's going on today, but we see that there is a new world emerging, and that it means a lot for the change, well, for the future health system, and especially in France. And here we have an example of a unique experience here in France. Thank you to both of you.